G'day, guys. Welcome to the Thunder from Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Graham Solomon. And remember, if you're watching on Facebook, smash the like button, smash the heart button, give us some love, and go to the Graham Solomon Thunder from Down Under YouTube channel. Belt that subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you get notified when we go live, like now with special guests. And today I've got a super special guest, one of my favourite people in the US REI landscape. He's absolutely the epitome of nice guys can come first. He's a great guy and he's achieved some great things in real estate for well over a decade now. So his name is Nate Armstrong. He's predominantly a real estate investor. He's crushed it in wholesaling, creative finance. He actually is a coach and a mentor. He is an owner at Home Invest, which you've probably heard of, and he is the founder of Social Media Blueprint, which is a great organization that teaches Facebook advertising, social media, real estate, all things real estate. And he is the one and only Nate Armstrong. Welcome to the podcast, Nate.
Mr. Graham, how you doing, man?
Yeah, going well. It's a pleasure to have you on. Like I said, you're one of my favorite people in real estate because you're actually a great guy and you crush it. So it shows the good guys can come first. So that's really good. You've got integrity. You run your business with integrity, and you're a real people person, and you lead by example. So it's just a pleasure to have you on, Nate. And I just want to start off. I want you to tell the listeners and the viewers the Nate Armstrong story, how you got started in real estate, the ups and the downs, and your journey through to where you are now. And then we'll go into basically what you're doing now in business. So if you could just give us a backstory on the one and only Nate Armstrong.
Yeah, so it's interesting timing, Graham, because right now we're in this changing real estate climate, right? We've got interest rates that are going up. They're causing people to start to slow down a little bit because stuff is more expensive, yet prices haven't come down. And when I'm looking at real estate, because I've been at this now for 15, going on 16 years, when I look at real estate, I look at people that have been successful for a long time because I had a major break early on, like got my butt kicked early on. I'll talk about that in a second. But in today's climate, I'm looking for people that have just done well over like not just like years, but generations, generational wealth. When I look at the Vanderbilts versus the Rockefellers in the United States of America, the Vanderbilts were tycoons, like uber ultra rich. And by the time that Vanderbilt senior passed away, his great grandchildren were not even millionaires. Like it just disappeared. And then the Rockefellers, if you compare them, they're still generation after generation, they're producing wealth, multimillionaires. And it just keeps going on and on and on through the lineage. And then if we even go further back and we look at King David, his son Solomon, it's described in the Bible that they literally had more gold. Like if you did the math on the amount of gold that they have, the tons of gold that they had, and did it in today's dollar amount, they'd be more wealthy than Mr. Bezos, Mr. Elon Musk, all of them put together because of what they created. It's this generational thing that they created, the overall kingdom. And so for me, I've been studying that because I went through a period where I got wrecked, to say the least. I started doing some houses on the weekends while I worked a full-time job, and I did okay with that on the weekends. And then when I finally got to bust free from my full-time job to do real estate full-time, a couple of years into it, I decided to go all in on a huge development project. And this is important for anybody right now that's considering development projects specifically when we're on the cusp of a potential market correction. And I'm not saying that you're going to definitely have one because real estate's so geographic specific, but I just want to say in general, like I know a lot of people, they're getting excited about the flashy big returns on development stuff. Just, I caution you with this. My wife and I went all in. It was really me. It wasn't her. She tried to talk me out of it. I met this guy at a real estate event. He was speaking on stage. He showed up in a Lamborghini. He was flashing a Rolex and talking really big things. And I like a little kid in a candy store, I wanted to achieve more. And so I was attracted to it. And I'm like, I want to do that. And next thing I know, I'm about to jump in on the deal with them, signing paperwork at the dining room table. And Jennifer's trying to tell me no. don't do this. Are you sure? Do you know this guy? Can you really trust him? And I said, Jennifer, this is what we need to grow to the next level. And I signed the paperwork. I jumped in the deal. About 6 months after that, that's when I got the phone call from Lamborghini Boy's partner. And he said that we're upside down on the projects. We have to jump ship right now. I said, jump ship? Are you kidding me? There's no way that I'm jumping ship. I will do whatever I have to do to finish these projects. And so I pushed. I continued to push. And I ripped my family, Jennifer and our little tiny boy at that time, Bianco, away from our house in Minnesota that was on the lake. I sold all of our rental properties. Like, I did whatever I had to do to go and take over this big project. And we worked on that project for the next year, liquidated everything in the process because we were having to pay the bank, taxes, insurance, debt service, the whole thing. It was around $50,000 per month that I didn't have. So I had to sell everything. And we finished it, but I ended up having to go through bankruptcy. And it's not like a proud moment for me. Like, I hope that no one ever has to go through that. It's the scariest thing that you can do financially with your family when you've got other people depending on you. I immediately got back to work and started doing what we're doing now. And I'm going to talk about that today, if it's okay with you, Graham, because I think a lot of people could really benefit from what's happening right now. But we kept working and working. And within 6 months, we hit $500,000 in revenue. It was like going through the desert and seeing a waterfall. It was that was what it was like for us. And within a year, we did $1 million. And then fast forward with some time, like I kept having people come to us and ask, like, well, hey, how did you do it? How did you hit this? How did this work? How did you go here so fast? And so that's how, like, we ended up getting into the whole like coaching space. I don't even like to call myself a coach because I really don't feel that. I just show people tools. I show people shortcuts. I show people faster ways to do things because I depended on that for myself and for my family. I still do today. Like, time is the most precious asset that we have. There is not more time created. Like, the amount of time that we have on this earth, it's finite. So I'm always looking for the most efficient way to do things. I'm looking for automation. So I show people those. I show people how to use them and get them plugged into their business. Whether they're brand new in real estate or their experience, doesn't matter. Like, insert some of the modern day tools, especially that leverage this good old smartphone, because that's where the world's moving. Then you can make things happen faster. And that's how I got here today, man. That's how I got the blessing and privilege of getting to know you, man.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, a real comeback story, Nate, because you could have quite easily given up and just dropped your head. But you being the character that you fought, and you fought back. And like you said, you went through some hard stuff. I mean, what was that like? You know, you said yourself and your family had to sell everything. And, you know, how did you actually feel at the time? Did you feel pretty like it was going to be a insurmountable challenge to get back, like when it actually first happened?
Graham, it was so hard to even say out loud that I didn't tell my parents.
Yep.
They got the notification in the mail, and like it was just not a conversation you want to like run to your dad with. You know what I mean? We moved to a 1-bedroom apartment. This is after living lakeside, having God provided for us really well. We had a sailboat, like rental properties, like things were going really, really good. And then having to make a big shift like that, like it's eye-opening. And thank God, like, we've been able to reproduce and build that back. And this time around, much smarter, much faster, much more efficient. But like, in the midst of it, I think most people in life have been through some kind of trip. But that one was a big one. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, I'm just trying to get to the, just how you motivated yourself, what you did to just keep pushing through. Cause that, you know, like you said, your wife had tried to talk you out of it, and then you had to sort of go back to your wife and say, right, we have to scale back. We have to do this. So, I mean, it's just an amazing comeback story, Nate. Like, how did it take a little bit to get momentum? And then once you got some momentum, and did you just say, look, I have to burn the boats, I have to just go flat out? Was that sort of how you worked your way out of it? You just got in that mindset?
Yeah. So books became my best friend. So like even on, I'm not in my office right now, but like I've got books here, like tons of books, tons. Here's the thing, like if someone that gets really good at their craft, spending 10, 15, 20 years getting good at their craft, and then they take 2 years to compound all of their knowledge into a book, if people like you and I can't take 2 hours to download that information, we're nuts. We're crazy. And so I was a voracious reader of books. I wasn't back in college. When it was required to like read books and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, I just did what I had to do to like, pass the class essentially. But nowadays and in those moments, that's what I had to do. I had to put myself mentally in a different spot. I had to put myself in a spot where surrounding myself with people that were winning, people that were actually doing it the way that I wanted to do it. And that's what these books allow. So that was my best friend. That was my best motivator right there. And then the most important book is the Bible by far.
Yeah, which you're a man of faith, and you when you talk publicly, you always say I'm a man of God, a family man, and business comes after that. And so your faith would have helped you, stay strong in tough times and weather the storm. Now you talk about, you were just talking a big biblical thing about Solomon and his riches and that. I want to know if you can study back the lineage and where I didn't get any inheritance through the lineage, because with the name Solomon, I've missed out on there, Nate. So I don't know what's going on there.
Couple tons of gold. What happened?
I should have a couple of tons of gold. Some sitting somewhere waiting for me, but didn't get that. But that's what I love too, Nate. Is I follow you, even your personal Facebook page. I'm Facebook friends with you, and you talk about a lot of biblical stuff, but you really bring it down to modern day language. And it's just, like you said, history repeats itself. You're really big on stats. You talked earlier about you love watching trends and stats, and in your Facebook groups and with your students, you share what you're seeing, and you realize that it's a real, you've got to look at the past and look at the trends and try and educate yourself to be able to move forward into unknown territory. So first thing, I love listening to you. You're telling stories about King David and Solomon and that, and you explain it so well. But also right here and right now, you just love data, don't you? You love seeing and trying to lead yourself and your team into the future with a little as much certainty as what you can actually find. So, and you share that in your Facebook groups and with your students. Were you always that way, Nate, or did you, as you got in and built your business up, you learned that you've got to sort of know what's going on, as much, you haven't got a crystal ball, but you need to sort of try and predict through data what's happening in the next 6-12 months. Is that something you've always done, or as you've got more experienced?
No, I wish I could say that I always did data, but no, not at all. Like when I first started, I was just trying to make money. That was it. That was my motivation. It was like produce income. You and I share a common thread. We both used to have painting businesses back in the day. And so I went from painting business to house business essentially. And like, I was just trying to produce. I saw the people on those TV shows flipping houses and killing it. And I wanted to do the same thing. Nowadays, it's totally different for me. Like, yes, money is an important part of the equation. It's the currency that we trade on our time for right now, but it's not the main thing for me. Right now, for me, I want to have impact. I want to be able to do the things that can bless this world in a way that will earn me my spot, or as the Bible says, my crown in heaven. So much, much different. But the stats came probably 4 or 5 years ago. I started really digging into the economics of it. After living a whole market cycle, like I started buying at kind of the top of the last market, and then I rode that roller coaster all the way down, and then I bought hundreds and hundreds of properties down when we were kind of at bottom, and then now I've been riding the wave back up. So I've been studying data since I recognized the patterns. And it's funny because history repeats itself over and over again. Like, it's just so happens that I'm now going through my second cycle, but if you look back at like the Case-Shiller index, you can see 80 years of housing data, and it's the same predictable pattern. You can even look at what happens when the Fed juices the interest rates, what happens to real estate, what happens to the inventory levels. Like, it's so predictable. So you can't tell exactly when it's going to happen, but you can see from history, like you can get pretty close.
Yeah, you can see things coming. Like at the moment, you'd be prepared for something, a downturn or the market to go sideways, or that there's something in the air at the moment. Now, I just want to talk about you obviously with your journey, when you went through that hard time. So you built up and you got into wholesaling. Wholesaling was a way that you decided to make generate some cash, and you said you did a lot of deals. Really, you put your head down and your bum up, and you went hard, and you did a lot of deals early. Who introduced you to wholesaling, and what made you accelerate when you actually got into it? Were there certain things that you learnt, or was it just pure hard work?
Yeah, so good old Dean, DG, man. He
Yep,
introduced me to wholesaling a long time ago when real estate was his niche.
me
I'm
too.
very
There's another thing in
yeah,
common.
yeah. Yeah, I'm very, I feel it was a huge blessing to have that inserted into my life, because that's like a cash generator when you need to generate cash. Nowadays, wholesaling is part of the menu that I operate on, but the bigger part is SLP. So select properties, find leverage, find partners. Like SLP gets you paid with a wholesale fee up front, like you put money in your pocket, but you don't give up the deal. You keep the deal and you participate in the deal long term. It's just a much better way, because the one challenge that I realized with wholesaling is that yes, you can build up your bank account, you stockpile some cash and whatnot, but the moment that you stop, the income stops. And that's basically the hamster wheel effect. That's for people, it's the same reason why people want to leave their job. If they stop working, then income stops flowing. What we really want, what most people want anyways, is residual or recurring revenue. It just keeps coming in no matter what, even if you stop. So the deals that I get into now, it doesn't matter. I'm even outside of real estate. Like I'm looking at different businesses right now. I've partnered on one it's a recurring revenue business model. I want recurring revenue because I want money to be made when I sleep, no matter what. I don't want money to depend on me running on the hamster wheel. So SLP is the way I would really push people today.
I was going to ask you, can you tell us about SLP and how that looks? Just give us a quick overview of how that actually looks, and try and explain it to the listeners and the viewers.
Yeah,
Is that something? Is that a phrase that you've coined? That's something that you've come up with?
Yeah. It doesn't exist in the like residential landscape, so to speak, like regular buying single family properties and all that kind of stuff. There is a version of it in the multifamily space, but I've twisted that. Like I turned it upside down and I said, okay, well, how can people like us that instead of wholesaling these deals, how can we get paid up front, make cash flow in the middle while that asset is owned, and then also get paid on the back end when and if that property is ever resold? It's a really just like after doing so many transactions, I just kept testing things like, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? So the basis, it works like this. First, find a killer off-market deal. Not on market, not overpriced, not bloated, inflated just because we're in this like tight market. I'm talking like go direct to the seller. There's a lot of ways to do that. We can jam on this episode if you want to jam on that, or I can do it another time. But get sellers to come to you directly. Now you have something to work with. Now you can actually score a pretty good deal between you and the seller. There's no broker fees and all that kind of stuff in the middle. You got that good deal. Now what you do is you go take it to a bank. Hey, bank, will you finance most of this deal? You don't have to do all of it, but will you finance most of it at reasonable rates? And in today's environment, banks like to finance real estate because it's a safe asset. Okay. And then once you get the bank to say yes, now you go find a partner. I prefer accredited investors. It simply means that they've got good net worth, they make good money, they've got good reserves, and they can qualify for partnering on deals like this more so than non-accredited investors can. Don't worry if you like the whole accredited thing for anyone that's hearing that for the first time. You can just Google search accredited. It's super easy. You don't have to like have a special status with the government or anything like that. It just means that you qualify for their income requirements and their net worth requirements. There's tons of accredited investors out there. And so I grab the property direct from the seller. I find a bank. I find an accredited investor partner. I bring the whole thing together. I get paid a fee up front. I get paid cash flow splits. And then on the back end, when and if we decide to sell that property, I get paid again there. So I get paid 3 times. And usually I don't, like, it's not even very often that we have to sell the property, but we can get recurring cash flow for life on a lot of these deals. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. It actually sounds like the buy and hold version of a lease option or seller finance with the three payment profit centers. So
Yeah.
So you've created that you actually try and keep the property. You get those profit centers, and I guess the third one is not until you sell it. But you try not to sell. You're trying to build up equity that you can reinvest. And so no, that's really interesting. I haven't really heard of a concept, a buy and hold concept like that. So that's pretty cool. Do you teach that either at Home Invest or Social Media Blueprint? Have you introduced that into your businesses?
Yeah. So Home Invest, the difference for me company-wise, Home Invest is our actual real estate company. Like, for anyone that wants to invest into like multifamily projects or like be a partner potentially in one of our projects, that's what Home Invest is. We take investor capital, we go out there, we find good projects, we produce returns. And then the teaching part, that's kind of what was born out of people just asking for help. That's what we do under Social Media Blueprint, we call it, because really we teach the tools. Here's the tools to make it all happen. Here's the tools to put it together. And then most of it starts on social media. That's how you get direct to people nowadays.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the Social Media Blueprint and how you guys are crushed it in the social media space next. But I just wanted to stay on this topic because it's really interesting. So now you would prefer to do one of these deals. We'll call it the hybrid buy and hold. I mean, it's SL. What is it?
SLP, that everybody jokingly is calling it set for life process.
So the set for life process. Would you prefer to do that every time now rather than just wholesale a deal if you could?
Yeah, in every chance that I can, I would, because I'm making typically the same as I would as a wholesale fee, but I also get paid forever on the deal. It's just it's like a no-brainer.
And I mean, you'd know because you've done in excess of 1,200 deals, haven't you? So you've done the wholesaling thing for a long time. You've done it well, and I mean, for people that know you, the way that you do wholesaling is the way it should be done. It's been done, with integrity. You build up partnerships with people everywhere, and your team, you lead from the top, and the team are trained the same way. It's a real model for people to look at how wholesaling should look. But now you're saying you've got this hybrid model. You're taking it to the next level, and now this is the new way you still do a bit of wholesaling, but you're looking to move into this space. But just one other thing, though, you've done a lot of seller finance and creative finance stuff in your time too, haven't you? It hasn't just been all wholesaling. You personally do a lot of those deals as well. Are you still doing those?
Yeah. Let me touch on that in a second. So I did a look back. I sold a little over 200 properties to this one hedge fund, wholesale. And I not only wholesaled them, but I also helped them line up the contractors, the property managers. Like, I really tried to put the cherry on top so they would keep buying houses from me. And then I did a look back. This is like 5 or 6 years ago when I sold the bulk of them. And now I look at the values of those properties for what I wholesaled them for and what I made my fee for. And I look at the values of them and I'm like, holy cow, if I would have just kept those 200 properties under SLP, that would have been at least $3 million. At least $3 million. Like, if I would have and I was doing everything anyways. I was the one coordinating the contractors, so I might as well have just kept them, because with the SLP model, it's easy to bring in the capital that you need to keep doing and not have to burn your own bank account. That's the other big benefit. Okay, creative finance. So I love creative financing. There are 17 different ways that we use here to structure deals with sellers. Everybody knows like the straight up cash offer, like give them a cash offer and that's it. The next way is that you can say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, I can hit your number, but I can't give you cash for that. What I could do is make monthly payments to you. But what most people don't know is that if you don't understand the actual structure of their mortgage, if you don't understand the structure of the state laws in your area, you could actually be getting into a really tricky transaction, one that might even break the law in some cases. Like, most people don't realize that most sellers have in their mortgage something called a due on sale clause, which means if you try one of those subject twos, which is the most common phrase in the industry, you're actually potentially triggering the seller's mortgage to go into default. And I know that I'll get some critic will say, well, that never happens. I've had it happen before. I've been around the block long enough. I've taken over properties subject to, and I had one bank blatantly call it out. I had another bank do it to me too. So I've had it happen twice in my life. So you can't tell me that it doesn't ever happen. It does happen. I promise you it does. Okay. So what we need to know is the 17 different ways to structure it. So if we hit one of those potential landmines, we know how to walk around it and not just blow through the darn thing. And then we protect the seller, we protect us, we keep everybody in a safe position. Now, the reason that I push a little bit more SLP right now is because sellers in this present market, they want to be cashed out most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. So when people come in saying, hey, I'll just make monthly payments to you, a lot of times the seller's like, doesn't sound so good to me. I don't want to do that. And then they go with somebody else. So when we come to them with an SLP offer, it is cash. It's going to cash them out. They're going to be able to get paid off now instead of later. Now, where seller financing, creative stuff will come back, give it about 12 months. Wait till the inventory stacks up a little bit more, and it's obviously geographic specific. I was even looking at the map of Florida. Have you seen the inventory report that just came out from Zillow and Red? So Zillow and Redfin always published the inventory, housing inventory. And for like 2 years, we were negative. It keeps dropping and there's less inventory. Now, all of a sudden, since interest rates have gone up, inventory is starting to stockpile. And so it's forcing some sellers to drop prices. So I was looking at the map of Florida, which is one of our markets. And on the west coast of Florida, the whole map is turning blue, which means it's cooling off. There's more inventory stacking up. But there's one county in all of Florida that's red hot. It has less inventory than a year ago. Any guesses on which county that is or which city that is?
No, don't really know.
I'm putting my Australian friend on the spot with.
I've got a lot of friends, people in Florida, but I don't do Florida market myself. But I don't know. What do we got? We got Orlando, Miami.
Miami, you got it. Miami's the only one that's actually still rocketing up. Its inventory is going down still, so prices are still lifting. Okay. Whereas the rest of the state's starting to cool off now. So it's really interesting. So once we turn to like fully blue, it's cooled off. There's tons of inventory and sellers can't get the offer that they want. Then they become open to creative financing as a whole.
Yep. So with Miami being hot, do we need to get the old 80s Don Johnson padded shoulder jackets out, the white jackets out, and grow the hair a bit? Bit of a
Yes.
Miami's back. Beautiful. But,
yes, we do.
You've recently moved to Florida. You're based in Florida now. You were up in Wisconsin, where you originally, and then you've moved down there. So you know the Florida market really well. That's one of your markets. So what you're saying, Nate, is, if I'm not sure if this is right, but you're sort of replacing a lot of your wholesaling, and now you're actually replacing a lot of your creative finance with the model that you've built, the model that we're talking about here. So a lot of times you still would structure, like the hybrid buy and hold model rather than do seller finance now. Is that correct? Or
I would take, if a seller offers reasonable terms in seller financing, I would take that before I brought in a partner. But that's like 1 out of 25 deals typically that happens. So the other 24 out of 25, I like to line up partners to come in and do SLP with me.
Yeah. I'll just backpedal a little bit about your wholesale, all the wholesaling deals. What I know of how you guys do it is, you just mentioned it before, you go above and beyond for your buyers. You actually, the way that you set up your brochures, the way the information's just, you put every little bit of information, more than I've seen anyone else do. And then on top of that, you give them a list of three contractors, 3 lenders, 3 local property managers, 3 realtors, and you've got a list, especially virtually, if people are investing virtually, they get a whole list of people that they need as resources, and you provide that for them. So that's something that you just don't see in the industry. So that's probably another reason why that's been successful for you. But now you're actually moving across into this hybrid model. Do you still provide that information, or it's a different setup in that sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So this afternoon, as a matter of fact, I have a call with a gentleman that's an accredited investor that wants to partner with us on one of our projects. I'll certainly lay everything on the table for him, so it's open book, transparent, and he can see it. And whether someone was going to invest with me or we were going to sell the property to them, we take the same approach. It's like if people in the marketplace, people with money, doesn't matter what product you're selling, if people in the marketplace have choice and they're looking around and your product, your house, your car, whatever it is priced the same price as everybody else, but you're offering to give 3 more things on top, 3 more bonuses that come with it, and they like you, you're someone that they can actually, build rapport with, who do you think they're going to go with? They're going to go with you every single time. And so I learned that this is going back a decade ago when hedge funds first started getting in the game of single family houses, duplexes, things like that. I had a hedge fund approach me. He was looking at my stuff and he was looking at other people that were wholesaling. And I said, hey, after you buy this from me, just so you know, like I got a really good contractor. I can probably even like pull some strings and help you knock it out. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. So guess what? He bought another one from me, and another one, and another one, and another one. And then at some point, I did something really stupid, crazy, whatever you want to call it. I started a property management company. And then I started saying, hey, so, you can buy the property, use our contractor, and I'll manage it for you. And then all of a sudden, everybody rushed us at once, and they all wanted to do that because it just made sense. It was much easier for them. They could actually not have to stress out trying to find service providers. And I learned a lot. It was a blessing from God to go through that experience, but I would never do it again. Like property management, I thank you, property managers. Thank you for doing what you do. I couldn't do it. I couldn't take those calls all the time about tenants and toilets. It was not where my brain functioned well. My brain functions much better on putting together deals and that's where I belong.
Yeah, more creative side rather than the being bogged down in like you said, toilets and leaky roofs and stuff like that. So that's a key highlight, and that's what you teach at Social Media Blueprint in the coaching side of it, is to have people structure things, to obviously have ethics, conduct themselves well, really make sure they check the checklist, and then to provide extra value and service, isn't it? That's something that you've put through from the top end right through your team at Home Invest, and that's what you're teaching in Social Media Blueprint. So you'd say that would be a big part of your success, isn't it? That you stick by those standards, and service is really high. You want to serve people, all people that you deal with. So I guess it's the old what goes around comes around. Because you provide such good service, you stand out more than other people, and that's what's been able to get you guys to the top. So I just want to move across, Nate. I don't know how long, but recently you've got more into multifamily. And when I talk multifamily, we're talking large apartment blocks and large scale apartment blocks and stuff, aren't we? So what was your decision to move across there? That was just a natural transition, was it? Or you just saw something?
Yeah. So my wife and I, we bought our first 20 unit almost 10 years ago. And when I was going back and looking at the math on it, we got it for just over 500, and then did what we had to do to it, stabilized it, improved it, all that kind of stuff. And then we sold it for 1.7 million. And although it was it took more effort because it was bigger and more units and all that kind of stuff, just the sheer amount of gross profit that it created, I was looking back at that, going back through past transactions and past numbers at some point, and I'm like, why aren't we doing more of those? Yes, it's a little bit harder, takes a little more time, you have to raise a little more capital, things like that, but it just makes more sense when you can focus on one roof that has 20 units or 40 units, 60 units, whatever it is, than trying to focus on 20 roofs that are scattered throughout a geographic area. And so it just made sense. And so I started looking for people that were really sourcing good off-market deals, started talking with them. And anyways, one thing led to the next. And then we started getting into more multifamily again. And we actually just got one. We got awarded the contract in the last 7 days. We're going to officially start getting some capital together for it in the next week or so. But it's a $6.6 million deal. It's 66 units, $100,000 per door. It's in Louisville, Kentucky. Great market, strong cash flowing market, like a lot of good attributes. The state of Kentucky is very business friendly. In fact, it's been ranked in the top 3 business friendly states in the country multiple times by multiple different sources. It's got in the downtown business district, it has the Ohio River that flows through. So it's kind of like Chicago. Chicago downtown has this beautiful river that comes through and drains into the Great Lakes. Downtown Louisville has a river kind of like that. The business district is built around the river. And our property is 7 blocks from the river. Irreplaceable location. Fantastic. So, I like the multis. It's more bang for your buck.
Yeah. So anyone that is watching this that's into multifamily and that, reach out. I'll give you some contact point. Reach out to Nate because that's his thing at the moment. So you may be able to bring Nate some deals or do some sort of stuff there. What I was going to ask you is, do you use your new hybrid method with the multifamily, like how you had your wholesale strategy, and then now you have the buy and hold hybrid model? Do you do that with the multifamily, or is it generally wholesaling?
Yeah. No. We don't wholesale the big boys. We keep all of those in.
So you
so
keep
we raise
those
capital.
well. Yep. Cool.
Yep.
So that's sort of and most people that invest for a long period, single family, small multifamily, they generally levitate to large multifamily after a while anyway, because for those reasons you said, Nate, you got it consolidated in one area rather than scattered out all over the city. So that's sort of a natural. You hear a lot of people have been in it 10 years or so, they sort of go to that. So that's awesome. I just wanted to also ask you about Social Media Blueprint. I know you've got an appointment after this, so I've got to keep things moving. But just to just tell us about how you started Social Media Blueprint, and basically what a quick overview about what it's about.
Yeah. So Social Media Blueprint was really people asking, "Hey, how do you do that? How'd you do that? How'd you do that?" I kept getting it over and over and over again, and so then I started showing people, and then those people started saying, "Hey, this is working, but what about this? Can you show me that?" And so we drive most of the deals that we're doing right now. They come from social media, and I recognized back in 2020 that when the world kind of went dark because we were all like, this whole pandemic thing was happening, when the world kind of froze for a little bit, like everybody was on their phone. This is the one universal spot that you could get everybody. You couldn't go to a coffee shop and see anybody, but they were all on social media. And the world has forever shifted in that direction. Even today, if you go to a restaurant with your husband, wife, best friend, partner, whatever, look around and look at the couples that are sitting there. I guarantee you they're not making eye contact the whole time talking with one another. They're usually staring down at their phone at some point. And so that shift happened. That ship has sailed. It's not coming back. And so I said, you know what? I got to be in front of these people. I don't know how, but I'm going to figure this out. And I started hiring different ad agencies and different people to help me build stuff. And I would test it and I would try it. And we finally figured out what works. We finally figured out how to get sellers to come to us without us having to chase them. No more cold calling, no more bandit signs, no more trying to shake down sellers by door knocking or anything like that. No SMS. No. Just have them come to you. It's so much easier. So that's what we do. The Social Media Blueprint's all about that. And then the other side of it, of course, is having the money lined up to close on the deals, which also can be found very easily on social media. So we've got the blueprint for both sides. It's the front side of getting sellers, and then the blueprint for finding the people that have the money, whether you're going to sell the property to them or you're going to raise capital. Either one's okay. You can find them all in this big, glorious land of social media right now.
Yes, and I actually met you before I did the Social Media Blueprint course, but I'm a student and I rave about it because it's unbelievable. And it's not just that you get taught. You get taught all about all of real estate within the course, and it's amazing. And you've got coaches that coach on different topics all week long, and they're amazing coaches. We'll do a shout out to them, Nate. You've got some amazing coaches, but once again, it starts from the top, and you've instilled your ethics and your values into them. It's an amazing place. I'd love to, if I can, down the track on one of the Thursday episodes, maybe deep dive, on a few of you, get you in a few times during the year and just deep dive on, firstly, Home Invest and go further into what you're doing there, and then Social Media Blueprint, because we're running out of time. But amazing. Anyone that's watching this, amazing. If you want to learn, how to have inbound marketing come through social media, Nate and his team are probably one of the best in the industry. So, I'll probably have to wrap it up, Nate, because I think you've got to go in about 3 minutes. I could talk to you all day, and thanks for coming in and give us an overview. I'd love to have you, if we could, during the year, maybe come back on the Thursday episodes where we do deep dives on topics, and maybe you can talk further. Another thing too is you've got a couple of big Facebook groups, and you get in there and you do lives, and you just throw out content left, right, and centre. So, do you want to just give those a couple of plug, the main ones a plug?
Yeah, the easiest way to find any of them is if you're looking for, like, I want to learn how to do this, I want to get the tools that we're talking about. We're putting up this page right now specifically for your audience, Thunder from Down Under with Graham. So this is specifically for your folks. Okay. It's datewithnate.com/thunder. Make sure you use the /thunder so we know you came from Graham, and then we'll get you it's actually one of the best trainings that I've ever done. I literally go through, it's about an hour where I'm literally going through, I'm breaking down what we're using right now, the tools that we're using, how we're pulling in sellers. It's how we landed 14 deals in a 7-day window with no pipeline, no cold calling, no ads, like just massive amount of deals in a short window of time. So if you want to see that breakdown so you can replicate it, then have at it. That's datewithnate.com/thunder.
Yeah, there you go, guys. Do yourself a favor. Go to datewithnate.com/thunder and go in there and watch Nate weave his magic. He will take you on a journey through that, and you will definitely get something out of it. And he'll show you what's going on right now, cutting edge stuff. You've also got www.homeinvest.com, so you can reach out to you there as well. And pardon me.
Yeah, that's for our investor friends. Those of you that you just want to invest. That's what I do in Home Invest. I make your life easy. You don't have to do tenants and toilets. Yeah. I'll figure that part out.
So that's that business side of it for the investors. So datewithnate.com/thunder, and that way, if you go there, you can actually reach out and learn more about Social Media Blueprint, all of the stuff. So what the name? Oh, so you can the Facebook groups you can also get through that link as well, so people can get to your Facebook groups as well. So, all right, Cool. Well, that's it, Nate. That's how people can reach out to you. Nate's, I can't say it enough. Nate is an amazing guy, so it's worth going to a date with Nate anyway, because he's a great bloke. Another thing too, with your conferences and when you get people together, it's fun. You make it fun. You make it interesting. And the same with everything you do, Nate. Your team are very upbeat people, very positive people, and that's something that you've put into your company, is to celebrate wins, celebrate success, and basically serve people and treat people really well. So, like I said, you've been in the industry, I think you said 15 years now, and you've served the industry. So you've taught so many students, and I thank you for personally what you've helped me and with my journey. So I'd just like to thank you for coming on and just sharing. I know it's just a bit of an overview, but people can reach out through the Date with Nate link there, and they can get to know you and they can get to know and learn more. So appreciate you coming on, Nate. Like I said, I'll try and get some commitment out of you so we get you back on the show, because I love the way you deep dive and you explain things. You're one of the best teachers and explainers and brain of complex information to make it easy for people like me, laymen like me. So I'd love to get you back on a few times during the year and get you to weave your magic. So continue crushing it out there, Nate. And I just actually did it just before we go. I did a stat, and I Googled the greatest painters of all time, and it had Picasso, Nate Armstrong, Graham Solomon, and it had Michelangelo. So we're in pretty good company there, Nate. We're two of the greatest painters that have got around of all time. And I'm still, if you can pull some strings for me, I'm still waiting for my gold inheritance from my lineage of the Solomon. So I haven't got that yet. So if you can do me a favour there. If not, I'm going to probably have to do some deals with you and make some money. So good stuff. Great to have you on. It's always a pleasure. Say hello to those, my main man, Bianco, and you've got 2 boys now, so say hello to the boys. And anyone, follow Nate on social media. I followed him for about 2 years now, and the amount of stuff that the free content and the stuff that he will teach you is amazing, and the way he breaks things down. And also go to Date with Nate and get involved. And like I said, it's the best training or that I've ever done. So you're hearing it here from the Thunder from down under. I did it virtually through the middle of the night just to hang out with Nate and his team, and it was well worth it. It's been a game changer. So, all right, Nate, we'll say goodbye. And because of Nate Armstrong, you guys have been thunderstruck.
Yeah.